All right. So we're going to start out with our first guest. We're going to see a video that was produced by Sam Franz from Addicaid way, way back in the year 2014. Let's take a look.
Hi, I am Sam Franz, and I am founder of Addicaid. It is a new company, and we are bringing the offline experience of addiction recovery online. And through this process, with our mobile application, we are aiming to reinvent the culture and the perception surrounding addiction recovery. This is a global epidemic that less than 5% of people in 2014 have been able to recover from. And this is through a combination of problems regarding being unable to connect with like-minded people, unable to find the right meetings or stay motivated, or being able to track your progress. And Addicaid is aiming to solve all these things, and our first feature on our mobile app is a meeting finder. So people can easily find great meetings with like-minded people anytime, and I think that this is the best first step for curing addiction.
Will you please join me in welcoming to the stage Sam Franz from Addicaid. 2024.
All right, breaking news. Charlie Sheen found alive in his New York apartment, age 48. It's kind of funny, but here's another one. Alcoholism, the only disease that you can get yelled at for having. No one would ever be like, "Damn it, Otto, I'm sick and tired of your lupus." That's Mitch Hedberg, and he is one of the funniest stand-up comics alive, until he, like too many other talented, brilliant people, eventually died of an overdose. And there's a lot of funny jokes about addiction, and we used to think all of them were hilarious. But luckily now, we know that addiction is something we actually need to take seriously. And 10 years ago, we used to relish nothing more than ridiculing everyday people and celebrities. And only when it ended in a fatality would we finally grieve. I knew we could do better. And this was our first version, Addicaid Member and Meeting Finder. Instead of creating headlines, we were creating helplines, connecting people who had stories and issues they needed to share. We created a global network of people with addictions ranging from alcohol to meth to process addictions, such as gambling and sex, but who all had one thing in common: they wanted to get better. One of the first steps to treating addiction is accountability, and we thought it was time for treatment centers to get a bit of their own medicine. We created a system that held these agencies accountable by measuring and incentivizing their success rates. We gathered information that finally showed what worked and what didn't, and shattered a lot of myths along the way. Insurers and employers, they saw the value of Addicaid as a cost-effective platform. So we partnered with them, ended up saving these corporations billions of dollars in addiction treatment. Then we used big data to track addiction trends early. With the help of headlines, police reports, and a network of volunteers, we developed a nationwide addiction heat map. This allowed us in real time to see where our country was getting sick, and then help these communities before the problem became an epidemic, like the heroin outbreak of 2014. And we were creating real change, but addiction was fighting back with technology too. With a never-ending flow of online black market drug bazaars, untraceable virtual currency, home 3D printers capable of producing anything from acid-laced stamps to crocodile pops, drugs were becoming more and more accessible. And we can never stop the march of technology, good or bad, but we can always harness it with humanity. Our Addicaid outreach program allowed people to alert us of a loved one's addiction, so then they could reach out via an SOS alert anytime they needed help. Our community was thriving by the millions, but its voice got much louder once hundreds of celebrities with this disease rallied with us. With their support, we created social campaigns and events of compassion that finally managed to make shaming addiction as ridiculous as it is to make jokes about sexual orientation or race. Now, we're looking beyond our own borders to tackle the supply side of addiction, to places like Afghanistan, where the only economically viable solution is growing opium. Instead of turning flowers into black tar, we're finding ways of making purple inks, textiles, and drugs that actually cure illnesses rather than create them. We're proud to say there's been a fundamental shift in the way our culture reacts to addiction. It's a progression from everybody, from everyday people, police force, government officials, and healthcare professionals. And the more we learn about addiction, the more we understand about what it means to be human. People now know that addiction is not a character flaw to be penalized or a behavior that can be modified by willpower alone. It is a disease, and it's a disease that requires compassion and science. And as we continue to look for solutions, it's great to know that finally the world is focused on solving addiction together, with no stigma, no shame, but with compassion and understanding. Thank you.
Sam Franz, ladies and gentlemen, and Addicaid, you stand there. You got a pink X, and I've got the little X because you're more important. Do any of you have any questions for Sam and Addicaid?
I have a question.
Yeah?
First of all, I'm totally blown away, Sam, by what you've managed to accomplish and the millions of people you've helped and those people helping others. It's incredible. So first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
As a side note, I do want to say that in 2017, I actually did join Addicaid. It was when Breaking Bad came back on for 2 seasons. And I found myself watching on Google Glass, driving. I mean, it got bad.
You're in a safe space.
And I feel now I have no shame about that, thanks to you. And although I joke a little bit, I do want to say you really have accomplished something significant, and I thank you for that. My question is, in all the things that you've talked about that you've done, did you ever consider some kind of actual product, some kind of wearable technology, something beyond communication that could maybe increase your impact?
Yeah, we were considering something like that. Fitbit was really great 10 years ago, but it never totally caught on. So we were thinking that there would be a great way to actually shock people if they came near a drink or a drug. But it didn't really work so well for the FDA approval. So right now, we're still investigating new options, but I think that, honestly, the hardware aspect of things has faded a bit more because people are more connected with their phones, surprisingly. And yeah, that's my answer.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Were you addicted to meth or Breaking Bad?
Or both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. Thank you.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Please make some noise
Thank you.
for Sam Franz and Addicaid.